Yes, Rudolph, baby. I hope it won the poll. I kind of have to assume like a day before I'm to put the video out that it's that whatever's leading is won, and this was kind of just leading. So this is what we've got. But we've got this one out a little later than I planned, and that means that there is only one more Christmassy fancast I'm doing, guys. I'll either do it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Either one. So I guess you guys are just gonna have to take extra care picking this one, because this is the last one of these we're gonna see until next year, and yeah, any of these other 5 that you want to see will have to be saved for then. So, which do you want to see as the final Christmassy fancast, guys? Elf, It's a Wonderful Life, The Santa Claus, Miracle on 34th Street, or Frosty the Snowman? Sure, I'll let you guys choose as always. You go ahead and choose, and let's get on with today's fancast. Rudolph is just, you know what? He's a really basic, like, little boy child character, you know? You can kind of cast, like, almost anybody, I feel, to play him. I don't know, like, it's such a little, okay, he's just this little kid. He's a little bit like, oh, my life's so hard. But I mean, like, it's fair enough. You know, like, the whole film is about him being discriminated against. It's fair enough that he's kind of upset about that, you know? We'll let him off with that one. So, for me, it's hard to know with a lot of smaller kid actors if they can really do a lot of singing yet or not, and that kind of had to be in mind here. I'm going to cast Roman Griffin Davis, okay? I cast Roman Griffin Davis in a few things. I think he's very good. He was great in Jojo Rabbit as a lead. You know that he can lead beyond just doing normal, like, fairly good kid acting. So for me, he was a right choice here, and I don't know if he can really sing. Let's be honest, though, the kid that played Rudolph in 1964 wasn't the best singer around even for a kid, so I'm kind of like, well, he could probably sing at least as well as he did, okay? Next. After that, Hermie is, he's an elf that wants to be a dentist, you know? And the fact that everyone's like against that and is like, no, elves can only be toy makers, really raises a lot of questions about the world this is set in, you know? These elves, like, they don't have, like, doctors. They don't have dentists. What do they have? You know, do they have elves that work on, like, catering? Do they eat? I'm very confused about it. But, you know, whichever way it is, Hermes is just... Or Hermie. He just wants to get away from here because they're also not accepting who he wants to be, you know? Not to quite the extent that they don't accept Rudolph. They, you know, Rudolph could say, I just want to be a normal reindeer, and nobody would accept that. They can't cut off his nose. God, would they have cut off his nose? Oh my god. I don't know. But, point is, I want to see somebody like Ross Lynch play Hermie, okay? Basically, you know, I kind of went through a few people that could play him, and I was like, well, Hermie is, like, very, very blonde. You know, very blonde. Not a lot of guys can pull that off so well. Ross Lynch definitely can. We know this already. Ross Lynch can sing. We know this already. And Ross Lynch just has this vibe about him that he's just kind of like this friendly, happy guy all the time, you know? He comes off that way in everything I've seen him in. So I'm getting like, yeah. Alright. That's all you really need for Hermie. He's a pretty simple guy, you know? He's a simple guy. That's all he wants. He just wants to be a dentist. It's a pretty simple guy, you know? So next, guys. Yukon Cornelius, the greatest man in the world. He's just such an excellent adventurer, you know? He just seems like the kind of guy that, hell yeah. You just want him to be someone, like, really mighty and awesome in live action. He does a full, like, Aragon treatment, okay? Gets chucked off the cliff with the demony bumble thing, and then just comes back with it tied up behind him. Legend, guys. Yukon Cornelius is great. I want Nick Offerman to play him, because every time I think that's just the height of manliness. That's like beyond like A-list buff guy manliness to like another level of just, I'm fucking, you know, Ron Swanson. You know? That's exactly what you want here. You just want the beyond alpha male. And that's what Ron Swanson is. So that's what Nick Offerman can play. And I just think that'd be fantastic. It'd be so funny. Yukon Cornelius is such a ridiculous character. You just want to see somebody like Ron Swanson, so straight-faced in so much of his comedy, come out and do that ridiculous role. I think it'll be so good. Next. Right. Santa Claus, you know, it's an unusual casting for Santa Claus. I've cast a couple of people as Santa Claus over the course of these fancasts, right? John Goodman comes to mind, things like that. For me, this time around, I was kind of like, Santa Claus in this, he's always like, Mrs. Claus keeps having to fatten him up every year coming up to Christmas, you know? So he is actually like quite thin in comparison to every other Santa you've ever seen, except for like Kurt Russell. He's he's still in pretty good shape. I wanted to cast Billy Crystal. Part of it is definitely down to the fact that I thought it would be kind of fun having this, like, having Mr. and Mrs. Claus be this kind of this couple that are kind of like, she's trying to like feed him a lot, and he's like, nah. And I think Billy Crystal will be good at that. But also, like, I think Billy Crystal will be really fun at that kind of. Santa was like, he's kind of mildly upset. He never seems really angry about this whole Rudolph situation, but he's definitely like mildly upset at like Donner, I think, for hiding Rudolph's nose for so long, and also just kind of he's a bit like, whoa, when he sees Rudolph, you know, he's like, whoa, all right then. He's never all that fond of him until he's useful to him. So that's another thing we should talk about at some stage. But I definitely think Billy Crystal will be good at that kind of like, maybe calm down a little bit there, you know, you just back off, without being like outwardly mean about it, you know, because it's not like Santa's not kind. It doesn't seem kind, really, for much of this, but he is definitely, you know, he goes and gets the misfit toys, saves them and all, you know, so he's a good guy still in general. I think Billy Crystal will be great at that. And then, as a kind of side footing to that Mrs. Claus, I'm kind of being a cheeky boy today a bit, I'll admit. I'm being a little cheeky boy. I kind of wanted to cast Carol Kane, because Billy Crystal and Carol Kane are so fantastic as the pair, Miracle Max and his wife in The Princess Bride, and I just thought she'd be somebody who'd give such a fun version of why is my name only Mrs. Claus? Where's my name? And things like that, you know. I think that'd be so good, and she'd be so good at the kind of like trying to feed him up thing. Yeah, no Santa ever looked like that, you know, that kind of stuff. I think that she'd just be really good at that. So yeah, I think they'd be a fantastic pair, and I don't think, you know, neither of them really have that huge roles. Especially Mrs. Claus, she was very minimalized in it. Be nice to see more of her character, or more of any character from her, you know, beyond the fact that she wants to fatten him up. But yeah, I think those two would be great at that. Next, Fireball is also a fairly unimportant role, actually, you know, but he's this young reindeer who Rudolph quickly becomes friends with on the first day of, well, I think it's school. They call it the reindeer games, but I think it's school. And they're fast friends, and then Rudolph's nose is revealed, and Fireball immediately goes, oh God, get away from me! He's like the real most immediately judgmental one, I think. So he's kind of important to cast, and I was going to cast Paxton Singleton. Why? Because I cast him as Sid when I did my Toy Story fan cast recently, and I thought that's the same air about it, you know, more of a like freaked out, like, what's this, than an outwardly like demonic evil trying to blow up toys in your back garden type person. But they're both like dicks, you know. So I think he'd be good at that. I'd feel bad for always casting Paxton Singleton as like the dick kid, but well, I think he'd be good at it. I don't necessarily think he's a dick in real life. I don't know what he's like in real life. I don't know. Next. On the flippity flop side of that is Clarice. Clarice Starling. Like Silence of the Lambs. Not Silence of the Lambs. Let's not talk about Silence of the Lambs. It's Rudolph. So Clarice is the little girl reindeer who instantly takes a liking to Rudolph, and he's all like, can I walk you home from school? And she's like, yeah. And then his nose is revealed, and he's like, you don't want me. And she's like, yes, I do. And then she like goes out and almost gets eaten by the bumble with his parents while trying to find him, and it's a whole thing. But Clarice, basically, I wanted to cast Cameron Seeley. I can't remember. I watched it like 2 days ago. I honestly can't remember if Clarice really sings, but Cameron Seeley can definitely sing. Did the 2018 Grinch, did the Greatest Showman, you know. She's very good at singing. But she also has this like very sweet voice, and Clarice definitely has that like very sweet kind of old style young actress voice. So I wanted to cast Cameron Seeley because she definitely has that voice, even if they don't need her to sing. Though, frankly, if they make this like a proper feature-length film as opposed to like, what was it, 50 minutes originally, then they probably add in more songs, and probably pretty much everybody needs to sing, you know, so perfect. Next. Then you've got Donner and Mrs. Donner, and yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, they don't need to be on screen. They need to be like parenty kind of age. They need to be able to sing. They need to be able to kind of, well, especially Donner needs to be able to kind of be this like embarrassed about his son's nose, definitely trying to hide it for a whole year. But then he comes around and goes out searching for him, and, you know, ends up loving him. Great. Eventually. Oh, whoa. They all love you eventually after you come out of the closet. Maybe it might take 10 years. Well, anyway. Oh my God. What was that? So, I was going to cast Hugh Jackman as Donner because he's definitely got the voice. He's worked with Karen Seeley before. That's fun, and he's good at that kind of role. I think he's, you know, that kind of rough and tumble side of things. Wolverine doesn't seem very nice or kind, but eventually comes around and ends up being a sweetheart. Wolverine doesn't really do that a lot of the time, but it's fine. On the flippity flop, I wanted to cast Nicole Kidman as Mrs. Donner because, God, Mrs. Donner? Mrs. Donner? That's what she's listed as on Wikipedia. I'm not sure if that's accurate. Did she have a name? Is she called Mrs. Donner? Please give her a name. Jesus, at least. She's much more accepting. I wanted to cast Nicole Kidman because, like, I don't know, I saw her in the prom recently and I was like, yeah, she is this very comforting motherly figure now. And she can sing. And, yep. That's all I've got for Mrs. Donner's character. You know, I'm sure she can expand upon it and give more to it. Hopefully a name. But that's all that I've got from the original, you know, so perfect. Next, head elf. Yeah. He's the only kind of other elf you need to cast. There's a few of them around and stuff. Well, they're telling off Hermie for wanting to be different. But the head elf is the only one who's actually, like, actively judgmental, and then it lets him, fine, you're going to open a dentist office here, without actually discussing the funds with Santa or anything like that. Is the head elf really in charge of the whole album? I don't know. I was going to cast somebody like Michael Keaton because, again, he seems like somebody who'd be very good at this judgmental character who eventually kind of begrudgingly comes around to the idea of change and stuff like that, you know? He's definitely the kind of person you could cast in that role in anything, you know? And yeah, very much I think that's just right. I think that's just right. Michael Keaton's great. Be fantastic at that. I've really star-studded this one, haven't I? Like, some of these roles, they had like 5-6 lines in the original, and now I'm casting like A-lister. It doesn't matter. Next, finally, and let's go ahead and say it, most importantly probably, is Sam the Snowman, okay? Sam the Snowman is the narrator. It was Burl Ives in the original. Him singing the Rudolph song in that is still pretty much the most famous version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song. So, important role, you know, important role. Great role. He was very good. I love Burl Ives as that. And he's able to sing, yes. He's also got this kind of gruff American voice. To me, I was gonna cast Jeff Bridges because I'm pretty sure he can sing, yeah. And he's definitely got the gruff voice, gruff exterior, and he feels right for that kind of gruff American narrator role, right? To me, he feels pretty perfect for that, and I'd love to see him do that, you know? It's tough to replace Burl Ives in that role, definitely. But Jeff Bridges is the kind of person that, yes, I'm not even sure how good a singer he is, and Burl Ives was kind of primarily a singer, right? But I definitely think he'd be good at it. And I am pretty sure he can sing. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure Jeff Bridges is a good singer. So I don't see why he wouldn't be able to do that, you know? I'm not entirely sure what they want to do to expand upon this story if they do it again, but definitely just don't make it like the 1998 one, okay? And that's all for this one, guys. Don't forget, Elf, It's a Wonderful Life, The Santa Claus, Miracle on 34th Street, and Frosty the Snowman. There's a pinned comment down there with all 5 of those listed. You just reply to it saying which one you want to see as the last Christmassy fancast for the year. And you know what? Start letting me know what else you want to see in the new year when we come back to kind of normal fancast. I'm going to take a break for like a week after Christmas, but I'll come back to them eventually. And also subscribe!